Okay, fighting stances. There's so many different lengths, different ways that people choose to extend their stance or shrink their stance. And in my opinion, some of these stances work very well with certain fight styles, but terrible with other ones. Today I'm going to break down 3 different distances of a stance and tell you which one you should be using for which fight style. It's no secret that movement is wildly important for fight sports, but I see many people choosing the wrong length of stance versus their fighting style. And we want to make sure we understand which one goes best with the stance. Now, of course, there are always anomalies out there, and if I tell you something like, oh, this stance doesn't go with this fight style, and you're going, but I do this all the time and it really works for me. Well, bravo, you found your fight style, but there's many people who have not found it, who are trying to learn, because sometimes gyms tell you one thing, but it's not really catered to individuality. It's catered to just sort of everybody do this. And I'm here to help you find your unique style and which stance might coincide best with the fighting style that you feel suits you. And of course, if you finish this episode and you go, oh, how was nobody teaching this before? This movement stuff is wild. I want to know more. You can grab my Strike Ready movement course, which we just wrapped up recently. We had the live calls, the 25 plus videos, and now you can up your movement skills by just joining that course. Now, the first thing that we're going to look at, the first length that we're going to look at is long. When I go for a long stance, in my opinion, you can only be doing one of 2 things from this incredibly long stance. You either need to be ultra mobile so that you are ready to spring. And that's the nice thing about these long stances. It's very easy to push forward and very easy to push back, as opposed to a more narrow stance. When you try to move backwards, it's not as easy. On these ones, you're very mobile. But if you are going, oh, I like a wide stance, but I don't want to stay mobile, well, then what you have to be doing is implementing lots of head movement and little steps, little bounces constantly. But either way, you're looking for activity from that longer stance and probably not wanting to just hunker down in front of your opponent and just stand here. Stand at that, like just outside striking range, doesn't seem like a good idea. You're going to want to be mobile through your legs or mobile through your head and be faster paced than them on pretty much everything. That's what you're looking for with one of these longer stances. Now, the reverse of that, or the opposite, is when we get to a very narrow stance. We'll talk about the in-between in a moment. But the very narrow stance is going to be harder to say ultra mobile, because with this wider stance, when I start trying to spring, if I push backwards, I don't have this other leg to catch me and stop me. So as I push backwards very fast, I'm gonna almost feel like I'm skipping over this leg, trying to stop myself from falling. That is why many people who have this narrow stance, this Muay Thai stance, they just stand there. If they move back, just like that. They're light on their front foot. They're going to block a lot of shots as opposed to worry about moving away from those shots. So if you're taking more of a narrow stance, but you find you're not comfortable with attacks yet, your defense is still a little suspect, then you might want to lengthen your stance so you're more mobile. But you're not super mobile from these narrow stances, and I don't think you're going to find many fighters who are this narrow who are going to be doing much movement. But that's fine, as long as you're comfortable with that tighter range. Blocking the shots, catching the shots, and really delivering good, hard combos. Now, finally, we get away from this Muay Thai stance, and we get away from this karate stance, and we go to more of a neutral length stance, kind of the walking stride. If I was going to explain it to you what it should be, right? I just walk forward. I walk backwards. That's sort of the length we're talking about right there. From this spot, you can do a whole lot of stuff. But I think choosing one of 2 footwork styles here is going to be the easiest. You either step from one foot to the other, just going left to right, or you get your heels off the ground and you start bouncing. Both of these allow you to kind of choose. Am I going to be somebody who stays just a little outside of range, who's ready to move backwards and ready to move forwards? Or am I going to be somebody who's just kind of just standing in that tighter zone, still ready to push away and push out? This to me is one where you have a little bit more variety in what you can choose you want to do, because yes, from here I can certainly check. It's hard to check from these longer stances. From here I can dart in and out, but does that mean that this is the ultimate stance? Because you can do what the other two can't. No, it does not mean that. It means that you need to find which fight style feels best. And if you're somebody who really does like to just sit there and hunker down and block shots and check and catch, narrow is great. You can go to here as well if you want. If you want to be very bouncy, it's probably beneficial to take that extra step. But if you're somebody who's kind of in between, you know, you don't really want to be running around, you don't really want to be just standing your ground, it's not a bad thing to just go, okay, I'm going to pick this middle ground here. And you will see me in fights. Actively keep my hands up, stay mobile. I'm always in about this length of my stance, but I'm bouncing, I'm very bouncy. But then other times you'll just see me just stepping. And you can transition from one to the other without compromising your overall style, without changing your fight style dramatically. Whereas if you're trying to take a long stance and then all of a sudden you go to here, you have to do a complete switch in what you're doing. So that is my take on stances and understanding which style might work best for you given the length of the distance between those feet. Hopefully you guys found this helpful, you appreciate it. Give the video a like if you did, and I'll see everybody back on the channel very soon.